Well, good evening, Sophie. Look, we're all absolutely delighted at yesterday's by-election victories. I'm a pessimist by nature, so I certainly wasn't expecting us to win it, but I don't think many people were expecting us to overturn such significant majorities in Tamworth, which we haven't won since 2005 and has been swinging gradually to the Tories ever since, and certainly not in Mid Bedfordshire, which is a true Tory heartland. And in 2019, the Tories won 60% of the vote, and Nadine Dorries had 20,000 majority. So I think the swing from the Conservatives directly to Labour voters demonstrates the scale of anger in the country with what the Tories have done, both to our public services and to our economy, but also that they're looking up and seeing a Labour Party that is changed from 2019 and from that catastrophic election defeat, and ready to offer voters hope that Britain can be rebuilt and that the politics can change things again for the better.
The thing that lots of Conservatives are effectively clinging on to is that, look, Labour hasn't sealed the deal. Keir Starmer isn't a Tony Blair. And actually, the reason that Labour picked up these seats wasn't because of loads of people switching to Labour. It wasn't because of Labour putting on loads of votes. It was just Conservative voters were staying at home. And they think that they can win those people back in a general election. What would you say to that?
Well, look, I know the Conservatives have got to say something today following those terrible defeats yesterday. I sympathise. I've been in that position where I have to go on the media and defend the party after you've suffered terrible election defeats. But this wasn't about Conservative voters showing apathy. That was the second biggest swing directly from Conservative to Labour since 1945. And I campaigned in those seats. I campaigned in Selby as well just 3 months ago. Those have been catastrophic switches directly to Labour. And I spoke to people who'd voted Conservative their entire lives, and they were furious about the impact that they have directly had on their mortgages. I spoke to one man who showed me his redundancy notice. He worked in the construction industry, and despite the fact he voted Tory his entire life, he directly blamed the current government for the impact that they've had on the economy and on his job. And I've just spoke to so many people who are sick to the back teeth of this government and are ready for change. And as I say, I think they're looking at a Labour Party that is changed, has reflected on itself and changed since that catastrophic defeat in 2019. And I think they think that Rishi Sunak offering himself as the change candidate when they've been in power for 13 years is just beyond ridiculous.
Can I ask you a bit of a bigger picture question? Because I do feel that, when I speak to Labour frontbenchers, there's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of, being very careful, very cautious, not committing to anything, not giving too much away in terms of policy. You're offering two things to the electorate at the minute. You're saying, look, we're going to have an iron grip on the public finances, but you're also saying we can transform public services. I'm struggling, to be completely honest, to see how both of those things can be true. Is it now time to start pitch rolling for what happens if you do win the election? Because you're going to have a very, very difficult economic inheritance. Is it not time to be levelling with the public about what a Labour government would actually look like?
Well, look, I think that's absolutely fair. But the reason why we make clear that we are building everything on the rock of fiscal responsibility is partly because we have a serious credibility gap in the past with people trusting that we are going to be responsible with the nation's finances, but also because people saw directly last year what happens when the government does play fast and loose. It has a direct impact on working people's lives. It has a direct impact on people's mortgages, and it has a direct impact on our ability to spend on public services. So that's why Rachel Reeves has been so disciplined, and the rest of us are so disciplined as well about that, about those facts of fiscal responsibility. But we are setting out a vision of how we will fund public services. And we're not saying that there won't be tough choices. We will be inheriting a very tough economic situation, but that doesn't mean those tough choices don't need to be Labour choices. That's why we've set out plans to abolish the non-dom tax status, to directly invest that into the NHS. It's why we've set out plans to scrap the VAT tax relief on private schools, to directly invest in comprehensive education, in breakfast clubs and mental health schools support for school children. It's why we've set out plans to abolish private equity tax relief as well in order to fund our public services. But we've also set out really ambitious plans about how we'll grow the economy. Keir was very ambitious, I think, in his conference speech about creating a new generation of new Labour towns, of radically reforming planning so that we can tackle the housing crisis.
You've done so well getting all of these things in. I am going to come in, but, a gold star definitely for the amount of Labour policies you managed to squeeze into the last 30 seconds. Thank you very much indeed, Louise Haigh.